It's actually raining now. What? I know. It's hard. I'm almost down though. Holy.
Thousands of people walk down this Chicago street every day, but very few will look at this building for more than 1 second. This is the site of what used to be one of Chicago's oldest blues bars. Just recently closed permanently, leaving the building abandoned.
Looking through the window, you can only see a few old chairs and tables, but one can only imagine what type of rust and decay you would be able to see from the inside.
All the doors are locked and heavily guarded, but we still can't help but wonder what going inside would really look like. Are there any guitars still hanging on the walls? Maybe even drinks on the bar?
Just thinking about exploring this place is exciting, but why? Why are old abandoned places like this so interesting? And why do people want to explore them? Not all abandoned places are as locked away as the Blues Bar. Here, the old Joliet Ironworks has been torn down and turned into a public park. What used to be a massive complex is now a public space. Here, you can freely explore these old ruins and even, using these signs, learn the history of what used to be here. It's almost like a museum, except instead of just learning about a location, you get to actively explore it too. It's really nice that this abandoned location is publicly available. Usually that's not the case. The only downside to that is that while you're exploring, you might just see a random person walking around nearby. It kind of ruins the excitement and immersion of a hands-on and personal discovery. Some personal discoveries can even be made inside places you go to on a daily basis. Here at this high school, classes are still in session, but nobody knows that there's a secret room hidden nearby. Going through here, we can see what looks like mangled rooms and bizarre corridors that really don't make much practical sense. These come from the years of renovations that have shaped these catacomb-like back rooms. While the outside is clean and pristine, in here, it almost looks like a dump. This area is closed off to the rest of the school and no one can come in. Because of this, you can find old artifacts everywhere that haven't been used in decades. Old books, computers, yearbooks, and even floppy disks can all be found here. It's almost nostalgic. Entire buildings don't have to be abandoned for you to explore them. Old places like this, places that exist inside buildings used on a daily basis, exist everywhere. You just need to know how to find them. There are a variety of spots you can go to find abandoned locations. The simplest method is to go online and search for Urbex websites. Urbex is short for Urban Exploration and is another name for exploring abandoned places. These websites house a large database of abandoned locations and information which is all available for purchase. There you can search by categories such as different countries, abandoned farms, houses, prisons, and even islands, and buy a map or coordinates to any number of different locations around the globe. Other methods of finding abandoned places are much less straightforward and require much more investigation. For example, if you go onto any abandoned online post or forum, there will always be long threads of discussion. The only problem with this is that the information could be totally outdated, made up, or worst of all, vague. Wherever you go online, nobody is willing to give very specific details on how to get inside abandoned locations. Many people will tell you the broad location of the area, but never the exact details on how to enter the place. This could be for a variety of reasons. For one, many people believe you could get into legal trouble for talking and being associated with abandoned locations. They don't want to get involved publicly online. The most interesting reason could be that the people in the community want to keep the movement underground. It's cool when not too many people know about a location. It's more personal when you're the only one who have discovered and visited a site.
Obviously, if everyone's going to these places, then they'll A, be harder to get into, and B, be a little less special. Half the fun is like, oh wow, no one's touched this.
This is Scooba, an Urbexer and one of the only people who agreed to talk with me about this topic.
I don't know, there's an element of like a coolness about it, if that makes sense. But it's sort of like capturing the essence of like, I don't know, like being a character from a stealth game. Batman almost has the same energy, where it's like you have this level of like, I want to be cool and mysterious, and you can't be cool and mysterious by explaining how you do things.
A popular topic in the Urbex community is comparing before and after pictures of abandoned places to see how these places look after their location has been made public. It's hard to refute the large amount of destruction that occurs between these times, and it's easy to understand why people are so vague about these abandoned locations. They are simply trying to protect and preserve them.
And I wouldn't want to tell them, but I'd be happy to take them. Sort of, they said, oh yeah, I'll take you there, and I'll show it to you, sort of thing. I'd almost be more open to that idea. Again, probably because it's like, okay, well, I don't want these things to be damaged. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're trying to do. That's sort of this idea of protecting things.
More often than not, online resources will not give you any details on how to get inside of these locations. They'll tell you where, just not how.
You have to be good at research to get into urbexing, at least in some extent, just because finding spots can be so hard.
Even when you buy a location on a website, you get very little to go off of. I bought one just to test the system, and I got nothing but a set of coordinates.
Again, if people don't tell you how to enter and exit places, but they sometimes will give you locations, you end up having to do that kind of stuff. And it's really important with infiltration, to know where the security cameras are, to know where possible entrances are, since you do usually have to be in and out fast.
Even if you know the exact location of an abandoned place, that doesn't mean you can explore it yet. You first need to know how to get in. To figure this out, you must case the place yourself. Casing, or researching and analyzing a location yourself, is hard and requires a lot of work. You need to find a lot of information based on very little data. Since casing places is so hard, people are reluctant to share that information because the people who receive this info didn't do any work. Lea, an Urbex explorer from Portugal, explains.
I'm struggling so much, like to get places. This is also part of the Urbex adventure. It's not only about being there and feeling the adrenaline of, being in an abandoned place. It's all the preparation before. Sometimes it can take months, to actually understand where, find the right places, talk with people, understand the story of the place until you actually get to the place. So it's just like, I struggled so hard, to get all this info, and now I'm sharing it with you. Like, you didn't do anything. You didn't have the pleasure to get this.
Manually finding abandoned locations like this kind of makes you long for easy-to-see places like the Blues Bar at the public park. These places are much easier to access and don't require so much prep.
While much less publicly accessible, the old Joliet prison is another abandoned location nearby. Here, you can't actually get in without a ticket, which makes it feel much more private, almost like you're actually exploring something that nobody has seen before. This factor can also contribute to another aspect not many people think about: paranormal activity. Some people believe that ghosts and spirits reside in abandoned places like this, and I mean, how could they not? Given this place's history as a prison, imagine how many people have died in this very location. While the location itself is interesting on its own, to be here in person and alone makes it really exciting. Now, it's fun to think that there might be something hidden deep within the walls of this abandoned prison, but it's even more exciting to actually come and see for yourself. Some abandoned buildings you should not go and see for yourself. Here I am outside of a very sketchy Chicago abandoned building, and I will definitely not be going inside. In this area, there's trash and graffiti everywhere, and the building is falling apart. The roof is caving in, and all the windows are broken. Sadly, abandoned buildings like this are all too common and very dangerous. But this could actually be why they're so exciting to explore, because of the danger of it all. As places get older, they become more dangerous. They start to fall apart and decay rapidly. People venture to these places because the location is almost temporary. It could be the very last chance to see the place before it completely collapses and is gone forever. The danger of it is just an obstacle, a means to an end.
There are different type of danger, so the legality one, the physical one, and environmental one. Chemicals could be used or could be there. And physical, because you're visiting places that are sometimes collapsing, in ruins, so anything could fall, so it can be dangerous.
If the climb was too treacherous, or there was like way too much like hazard material, be it like glass or really bad asbestos, I probably wouldn't go. I'm not gonna put my health at risk for no reason. Everyone has a risk limit. I'd say mine's pretty high.
Technically, going inside abandoned places is trespassing, and it's pretty hard to find a place that isn't illegal to explore. For some, trespassing is just why it's fun. These people like to live on the edge, and the risk of getting caught is just what makes it so exciting.
For the people that like adrenaline, it's much more exciting to visit like a place that is illegal and that there are some challenges or some risk. It adds something to the adventure, I would say.
Yeah, it's weird calling it a hobby because it's like people look at me and it's like, no, that's crime. It's like, well, shut up.
Personally, I don't really subscribe to this mindset. Where I get a lot of my enjoyment from abandoned places is through photography.
Many people, myself definitely included, find these places super photogenic. Something about the decay and reclamation of nature is just so beautiful on camera. There's even almost a dreamlike state about them. Photography is one of the most popular aspects of Urbex because it's so easily consumed and accessible. Not everyone can visit abandoned places in real life, but anyone can see them in photos. There are plenty of websites dedicated to Urbex photography, and some photographers will even sell books of their photos. Images are one thing, but videos are a way to get even closer to these places. A large community of Urbex video creators come from YouTube. These videos are fascinating and get millions of views. They really make you feel like you're actually inside a location. Films and other media have picked up on this fact and have made fictional and non-fictional stories revolving around the vast premise of abandoned places. The 2023 film Suzume touches on topics relating to abandoned places like nostalgia, discovery, and fantastic adventure. The film is set in Japan, a country famous for its rapid decline in population, which creates an unbelievable amount of abandoned buildings. Interestingly enough, abandoned buildings are somewhat directly linked to the culture in that way. Also, the HBO historical drama Chernobyl sparked a massive surge in Urbex interest because of the circumstances in which the surrounding Soviet areas needed to be immediately evacuated. YouTube videos of people exploring these abandoned houses and apartments exploded in popularity, with many of the videos coming out directly after the show's launch.
Exploring abandoned places in real life sometimes does feel like a film, a real exploration, an adventure, something no one has seen before.
In our modern age, we have discovered every continent, every secret, every stone has been unturned.
There's just no excitement in exploration like there was in the days of old.
Anybody can travel to amazing places like Mayan temples, the pyramids, or really anywhere around the globe. But wherever you end up, it's been explored already.
Abandoned places are kind of like the final frontier, the last place anyone can ever truly explore and discover.
There's really, I think, an urge in people to want to explore in a way that modern life just doesn't really give you in any great capacity. And you live in the same city where everything's charted out, mapped out. You know how everything's going to be. You know when the train's going to be. You know when your classes are going to be. You know when work starts and work ends. There's not a unpredictability or an unknown to really go explore, at least in the physical world. It's almost that little kid, like, I just want to go explore. It's like, this is like the one place where you can do that, really.
However you experience and enjoy abandoned places, whether it's through photography, history, adrenaline rush, or just raw exploration, don't forget that while these places may be abandoned, they're definitely not forgotten.